community, this is Tommy and welcome to another musical adventure. In today's adventure, I'm going to be opening up to you guys about my fraught, tumultuous, difficult relationship with the genre that's known as progressive rock. Am I a fan? I don't know, but I'm going to talk about it in today's video. Before I get started, I want to say that this video was almost a suggestion, a sort of suggestion from a good friend of mine who's a regular viewer, and I hope he's watching this video. It's my buddy Nathan. Nathan, what's up, man? Thanks for watching my videos. I appreciate it. And Nathan's a young dude, and he is kind of getting into a lot of different kinds of music. And he asked me about a band, and this kind of was the spark for this video. And so the band that he asked me about was the band Kansas. That's right, the rock band Kansas. Now, Kansas, well-known progressive rock band. And so there was a moment in high school where I bought this box set. It was on cassette tape, 2 cassettes. And it was sort of a greatest hits or extended greatest hits of Kansas and their music. This is the track listing if you want to take a look at it. This came out in the early 90s, 93, 94. And so everybody knows Carry On, My Wayward Son, Point of No Return. So those kinds of songs. But this was my introduction to sort of extended rock suite, sort of a mixture of classical and sort of what I would call very technical playing and singing, odd time signatures. And me being a fan of music and difficult music, I recognized what these groups like this were going for. But none of it ever really stuck with me. You know, some of the tracks on here, there aren't many that are less than 5 minutes. Everything's like 9, 13 minutes, 16 minutes, 7 minutes. I mean, the songs are very long. And of course, like, you know, as a fan of classical music and some jazz pieces, it's not that I have a 2.5 minute sort of attention span, but it got me to thinking about progressive rock and where I stand on the issue. So that's what I want to talk about in the video. Now, one of the sort of big progressive rock bands that everybody knows and most people love is, of course, Rush. You know, Rush is the Canadian band, 3-piece, Alex Lifeson, Neil Peart, and Geddy Lee. There's no denying the technical ability of this band and what they're able to do musically. They play stuff that people just normally can't play. But I find a lot of it just leaves me a little cold. I'm not just, you know, and I'm not trying to knock the diehard fans out there. Rush has a very devoted fan base, and I like some Rush songs. And when I hear Rush on the radio, they're not a band that I run away from screaming and going, oh my goodness, what's going on with this? And so after listening to Kansas and getting into that and the Rush music that I was familiar with growing up, I sort of went through this thing where I decided, progressive rock, probably not my cup of tea. But hold up, wait, is it my cup of tea? Because I really find that I enjoy and listen to the music of Yes. Now, this is close to the edge. A lot of my prog rock people will point to this as one of the great prog rock albums of all time, that it sort of set the standard. And indeed, I would understand. As a bass player, I found Chris Squire's bass playing just incredibly inventive and fun to listen to. I always enjoyed the vocal harmonies that this band managed to put together. And throughout the 70s, they just had a string of really great albums, or albums that I find enjoyable, Close to the Edge being the top of that heap. But albums like Fragile, the Yes album, the self-titled album, or Yes, the album, however you want to call it. But all really fantastic albums, like Going for the One, some really good stuff. And so, you know, this is a band that I don't have a lot of their stuff, but the stuff I have, I really thoroughly enjoy. Now, maybe my tastes tend to lean toward the mainstream, and there's probably the progressive rock diehards that are watching this video are probably laughing at me right now, going, "Oh, well, Kansas and Yes, come on, wake up." But another one, and I kind of went through the back door on this one, and I find it interesting, is Peter Gabriel. Now, Peter Gabriel, as a solo artist, I don't know that you would classify him as necessarily a progressive rock artist. And particularly by the 80s, he became more of a pop guy, which is interesting because the band that he fronted, which was, I would argue, a progressive rock band, Genesis, also went in a more pop direction after he left the band. So it was really strange that when Peter Gabriel fronted Genesis, it was very much a theatrical pop, progressive rock outfit, and then he leaves the band, and then the band sort of veers more into a sort of mainstream pop thing. Of course, they were with the drummer Phil Collins, who, funny enough, also a pop guy, a very much a mainstream guy. But the early Genesis records where Peter Gabriel was involved, I really like these records a lot. They're moody, they're a little dark, and I guess one of the things about it that stands out to me is that it's not a lot of progressive rock to me is like, look at what I can play. And just because you can play something, or just because you can play a lot of notes, doesn't always mean that you should. I am of the school of thought that simplicity is sometimes better, and I enjoy that. And I even think that silent moments in music is a musical thing. And so that may be a problem I have with a lot of progressive rock. A lot of notes, a lot of look at what I can do, look at how I can play, look how fast this is. Genesis tends to be a little more, I won't say tasteful about it. It's certainly expansive. I mean, the material is definitely sort of long, if you will, if that's the hallmark of progressive rock, extended songs. And certainly they were doing a lot of that with Peter Gabriel, not to mention the theatrical element, the costumes and the characters and the live act that they put on around this time. But I really find, and this is Selling England by the Pound, I don't know if I said that or not, but this was my first Peter Gabriel Genesis album, and it remains one of my favorites because of that, I think. You know, another thing about progressive rock is a lot of like imagery, and it's sort of a maybe cliched thing, but like dragons and wizards and all sorts of, you know, fanciful things. Think Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, a musical version of that. And so that kind of, I'm winding up here, and of course I'm a big fan, those of you who watch my channel, of Frank Zappa. This is his album, The Grand Wazoo, which there's elements now, the progressive rock people are probably screaming and yelling at their screens right now, saying, Tommy, what do you mean? But I think that Frank Zappa does exhibit some elements of progressive music. It certainly was advanced, it was very technical. It was, a lot of the music was expansive, but he was so much of everything, really. I mean, he could be a doo-wop guy just as much as he could be anything else. But I can put some of Zappa's music in the prog rock category. Grand Wazoo is an instrumental album, and some people might say it leans or steers more toward jazz fusion. That's a possibility. And sometimes, you know, with Zappa, I understand that the genres are blurred. And that there's not a straight thing that you can sort of pin him in any one category. But I would argue that some of Zappa's stuff is progressive. And finally, one of the last things I want to show with you is more of a recent record, and I say recent in the last couple of years, is, of course, King Crimson. Now, I had some King Crimson CDs back in the 90s, and I got rid of them at some point because I just didn't listen to them. They just didn't grab me at all. Now, who's to say that I wouldn't go back to some of those albums now and find something really enjoyable about it? This, of course, is In the Court of the Crimson King, one of the early releases, and some might argue the great progressive rock album that rivals Yes's Close to the Edge as far as like great prog rock albums. Some people may not even call King Crimson progressive rock. But I think they definitely fall into that category as well. But this is an album that I, always heard about, and a lot of people point to it. But I didn't really know a whole lot about it, again, until recently. And so, anyway, this is the album that that I have, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a good album. Now I don't listen to it like every other month or anything, but every time I spin it, I find something interesting, and it's always kind of fresh to me. I enjoy the sound of the record. I certainly enjoy the playing. So that begs the question: am I a progressive rock fan? Am I really a mainstream progressive rock fan, or am I kind of dipping my toes in the water? And you guys could like blow me away. Now, there's a lot of bands that people have pointed me to that are kind of fall into this genre, and I just find them just uninteresting for whatever reason. It doesn't light my fire. So I don't have any Kansas on vinyl. Going back to sort of the original in my introduction to prog rock, which was Kansas, I don't have any of this vinyl, and I don't really feel a need to seek any of it out. I had left Overture at one point, and so it's not like I'm just adverse to it. I just don't seek it out. I don't try to find it. So maybe it's just I just want the basics and that nothing more. But what do you guys think? Are you a prog rock fan? Don't care for the genre? Am I a complete idiot? Feel free to comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. I enjoy having you along, and like I said, I try to reply to each of my comments. So if you do take time to comment, I do try to respond in some way, and I thank everyone that takes time to do that. So keep on coming with the comments, and thanks for watching. Prog rock, am I a fan? Am I a newbie? Am I a wannabe? Is it just not worth looking into? I don't know. You tell me. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, buddy, for kind of steering me in this direction and getting me to thinking about this. I appreciate it. And thanks for watching. Always love having guys like you along for the ride. I forgot to mention a postscript that I want to add to this video is I'm going to post maybe later tonight or tomorrow a follow-up. I did an interview with Chris Squire several years ago, obviously before he passed. But I did an interview with him. It was a great interview by phone. And I thought maybe as just some bonus content, I would put that video or that interview in video form on my channel here. So you'll see a B video behind this just to kind of follow up. He was really great. There's nothing really enlightening in the interview. It's pretty straightforward. But anyway, I just thought it'd be cool for you guys to hear. So watch the Chris Squire video or stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Like I said, keep up with content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.